Has this ever happened to you? I was just at my doctor's office and my doctor looked me in the eye and told me that my blood work was perfectly normal. And then I went out to my car and I sat there for a second because I already knew something was still wrong. Something wasn't quite right. I was exhausted in a way that sleep hasn't fixed. The weight won't move like no matter what I do. I'm foggy by around 3 in the afternoon, and I do almost anything for something sweet, a great dessert. I don't know if you've ever felt like this or you've ever experienced this, but what I came to find to learn was that it was not in my head. I was not imagining this. And by the end of the video, I'm going to show you why normal might be the most dangerous word on that entire lab report. Let me tell you the thing almost nobody explains about the word normal, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Those reference ranges, the ones on the lab report, the ones that decide whether a number gets a green check mark or a red flag, they aren't built around you. They're built around what's optimal for you. They're built around what's average. A lab takes a big group of people. They set the normal bracket to cover the middle 95% of them, and there's your range. But think about who's in this group. It's not a room full of perfectly healthy people. It's regular folks, plenty of them tired, carrying extra weight, quietly on their way to a problem they didn't even know existed yet. So being in range doesn't mean you're well. It means you're average in a population that frankly is not healthy. It's like getting a C on a curve in a class where half the room barely passing and the C looks fine. It doesn't mean you know the material. So by the end of this video, like I said, I'm going to give you one number. It's not on your standard panel. Your doctor probably didn't run it, and it tells you the one thing your normal glucose is hiding, plus the single most important thing to do about it. Here's what those standard tests miss. Health isn't a light switch. Healthy one day, diabetic the next. It doesn't work like that. It's more like a dimmer. It fades slowly over the years, sometimes decades. And that whole time, your body is fighting a quiet war you can't feel yet. The name of this war is insulin resistance. Insulin is a key. You eat, your blood sugar rises. Your pancreas releases insulin. And that key unlocks cells so that sugar can get in and become energy. Simple, right? But with insulin resistance, your cells start changing the locks. They stop answering the door. It's like knocking on a door when the person inside is wearing like noise canceling headphones. So you knock louder. Your pancreas knocks louder by pumping out more and more insulin whenever it takes to shove that blood sugar back into the normal range. And here's the part that should stop you cold. Your fasting glucose can't be perfectly normal for years while this is happening because your pancreas is screaming behind the scenes to keep it there. Your glucose isn't normal because everything's fine. It's normal because something is straining to keep it that way. The number is normal, the effort behind it is not. So, how do you hear that scream before the voice gives out? You measure the effort itself. That's what HOMA-IR does. It stands for homeostatic model assessment of insulin resistance, which sounds like a mouthful, but it isn't even a test. It's actually a calculation. It tells you how hard your body is working to hold your blood sugar steady. And you only need two fasted numbers, your fasting glucose and your fasting insulin. Then you multiply them together and divide by 405. That's it. So let's run a real one. Say your fasting glucose is 95. Your doctor sees that and says under 100. Perfect. That's great. But we also pull your fasting insulin, and it comes back at 18. On its own, an 18 might not even raise an eyebrow. Now do the math. 95 times 18 is 1,710. Divide that by 405. Now you're at 4.2. And that's a completely different story than you're fine. So there's no single universal cutoff for this. Different practitioners draw the lines a little differently, but here's roughly how it reads. The glucose looked fine. The insulin alone got shrugged off. Together they show a body working way too hard. That's the number that puts you back in the driver's seat. And this matters way beyond blood sugar because an elevated HOMA-IR is one of the earliest warning signs you can catch long before anything else on your panel looks off. It's the smoke before the fire. It's tied to type 2 diabetes. Even when your A1C still looks normal, it's a real driver of heart disease. It pushes blood pressure up, drags your cholesterol the wrong way, inflames your arteries. It sits at the center of metabolic syndrome and of fatty liver disease. Now, I'm not telling you that to scare you. I'm telling you that the opposite. This is the one that shows up first, which means it is the one you have the most power to change. You caught it early. That is great news. So, speaking of change, your HOMA-IR is a blood draw. You're getting that 8 to 12 weeks. But one thing changing underneath it, your muscle going up, your body fat and visceral fat coming down. That moves every single week. And that's the part you can watch at home, which is why this episode is sponsored by the WISE scale. Here's why it fits. It uses bioelectrical impedance to estimate body fat, muscle mass, visceral fat, body water, not just your weight. And I'll be straight with you the same way I've been all video. A home scale is not a lab. The absolute numbers won't be lab grade, but it's consistent. And consistency is exactly what you want because it shows you the slope. Same scale, same time of the week, changing and charting the trend in the iThrive Health app, which is the whole point of everything I've said today. The number was never the verdict. The trend line is the truth. If you want to see the training work before the next draw confirms it, the link is in the description. Now, what do you actually do about a high number? Here's where almost every video hands you a list. Cut the carbs, lift the weights, manage your stress, fix your sleep, walk more, lose the belly fat. 6 things. And after 30 years, I'll tell you what I've watched happen every single time. 6 things is actually 0 things. A motivated person walks out ready to change everything, tries to change 11 things at once, and 3 weeks later, they're doing none of them. Not because they're weak, because that's what splitting your attention 11 ways does to a person. So I'm going to give you one. Yes, just one. You're welcome. Increase lean muscle tissue. For the next 12 weeks, I want you to do this with me. Resistance training 3 days a week. Compound lifts at a little weight over time. That's the whole assignment. If you want to take the guesswork out of it, just go to iThriveHealth.com. Just by entering your blood lab values, it will give you a customized daily workout and meal plan. Now, here's why building lean muscle tissue is the one and not the other 10. Muscle is a glucose sink. It pulls sugar out of your blood and it keeps doing the work on the days you don't even train. It lowers the demand on the screaming pancreas day after day. It's also the thing that actually shows up when you retest in a few months. And it quietly fixes your sleep on its own, which means you get the second most important thing on that list for free without ever making it a separate project. Now, listen to this carefully. Muscle is the engine, sleep is the multiplier. Build that engine first. So, for 12 weeks, we're not chasing supplements, cold plunges, or some new protocol, not because none of that matters, because none of it is the engine, and you only have so much attention. You've been doing 11 things badly. You're going to do one thing brutally well. And getting the number is simpler than you think. Next time you're due for labs, ask for 2 things drawn from the same fasted sample, as a fasting glucose and a fasting insulin. Fast 8 to 12 hours first, water only. Now, the fasting insulin isn't on a standard panel, so you may have to ask for it specifically. Here's the thing to understand. You don't need a clever script, and you're not trying to win an argument. Doctors order this all the time when the symptoms call for it. Unexplained weight gain, fatigue, a family history of diabetes. That's you. You already qualify. So don't walk in asking to measure your insulin resistance. Walk in and say, What's actually happening? I'm gaining weight. I can't explain it. I'm wrecked by 3 p.m. Diabetes runs in my family. Can we add a fasting insulin to my next draw? Same doctor, different answer. But notice what this number actually is. One clean draw tells you where you're standing today. It's the change, draw to draw, month over month, as you build that engine. That tells you the truth. And a number that only means something as a trend line isn't really a lab problem. A lab hands you a snapshot and sends you home. The problem was never getting more health data. It's turning that data into something you actually do on Monday and then watching it move. That's the whole reason I do what I do. So here's your week. Book the draw. Say your symptoms out loud, ask for the fasting insulin alongside the glucose, then come tell me about it. Because next week, I'm going to take that one number apart. The exact diet, the exact training, the sleep changes that actually pull HOMA-IR back down in order that matters. We built the engine today. Next week, rerun it. This is Greg. Until next week, let's thrive.